Imagine showing up at your own parents' mansion, broken and in a wheelchair, begging for a roof over your head. They looked at me like I was garbage, then kicked me out. But what they didn't know, the very next morning, a worn-out old card changed everything and sent a bank manager's chair crashing to the floor. I remember that night like it was yesterday, the night my own blood turned their backs on me. My name is Winston Cole, and I was 34 then. Life, for me, was perfect. A big-shot project director at a tech giant in Texas, a beautiful home in Austin, and the two loves of my life, my wife, Elise, and our little daughter, Mia. Elise was everything to me, a gentle soul whose smile could just melt away the stress of my toughest days. And Mia? She just turned 5, all curly hair and sparkling eyes, always yelling, "Daddy, I love you." She was our sunshine. That day, we'd had the most wonderful afternoon at the mall. Mia had been begging for a new doll. Elise was laughing, teasing me while trying on clothes. We ate ice cream, watched a cartoon, and just talked and laughed the whole way home. Pure joy. Then the rain started, just as we got into the car. Heavy drops drumming on the windshield. "Drive carefully, honey," Elise said, her voice soft, stroking Mia's hair as our little girl dozed off in the back seat. I squeezed her hand, smiled, and focused on the road. The highway was busy, but I loved driving. It felt like freedom. The rain got heavier, though, turning the asphalt into a slick, shimmering sheet. Wipers on full speed, soft pop music on the radio, trying to drown out the downpour. Mia stirred, murmuring something about her new doll. Elise turned to me, her eyes just shining. "Today was so much fun, wasn't it? Let's do it again tomorrow." My heart was warm. I nodded. But then, in that single, horrifying blink of an eye, everything changed. A monstrous truck, its headlights blinding, came barreling toward us, like the eyes of a beast cutting through the gray curtain of rain. I squinted, tried to hug the right shoulder, but those lights, they hit me straight in the face, blinding me completely. I muttered a curse, raising my hand. The steering wheel jerked. The tires hydroplaned. I slammed on the brakes. Too late. The car spun, a wild, mad tup. Elise screamed my name. Mia wailed from the back seat. My heart hammered against my ribs. Everything became a blare. The screech of metal. The shatter of glass. The car smashed into the concrete median, flipping again and again in the torrential rain. My body was thrown forward, the seatbelt cutting into my chest like it wanted to crush me. Then the pain. Excruciating. It shot from my back, down to my legs, like 1,000 knives in my spine. The stench of gasoline mixed with a metallic reek of blood filled my nose. Finally, silence. The car was upside down. Rain poured in through the cracked windows. I hung there, dizzy, ears ringing. "Elise, Mia," I whispered, fumbling with my seat belt. My hand shook. Blood from a gash on my forehead dripped into my eyes. I had to get out. I had to save them. With what little strength was left, I dragged myself out. Oh God, I can't move my legs. They were numb, utterly lifeless. Using my arms, I pulled myself across broken glass. Cold rain lashed my face. The gasoline smell grew stronger. I was terrified the car would explode any second. Propping myself up, I pulled toward the passenger side. Elise lay motionless. Her head lolled to one side. Blood trickled from her ear, from her mouth. Her beautiful face was pale, eyes half closed. "Elise, wake up, baby. It's me." I shook her, but her body was limp, unresponsive. My heart tightened, a tidal wave of terror rising. Then I looked into the back seat. Mia, my tiny little girl, was still strapped in, but a pool of blood gathered on the road beneath the shattered window. She wasn't crying. She wasn't moving. "Mia, sweetheart, wake up. Don't scare Daddy." I screamed, crawling closer, reaching out to touch her small, cold face. There was no breath. Shock hit me like a punch to the chest, leaving me gasping for air. That image, it burned into my mind, blood mixing with the rain, the sound of the downpour drowning out everything else. I held Mia close, my tears mingling with the rain, but my vision began to fade. Pain spread through my entire body. My spine felt crushed. Sirens, distant at first, grew louder. But for me, it was already too late. The world went black. I collapsed beside them, praying, pleading, that this was all just a nightmare. When I woke up, everything was white. The harsh lights of the ICU, the sharp smell of antiseptic, the steady beep-beep-beep of machines. My whole body was wrapped in bandages, a human mummy. I tried to move, but a stabbing pain shot from my spine, making me groan. "Oh, God! Winston, you awake?" A joyful voice. I turned my head, vision clearing. It was Tiffany Hart, Elise's youngest sister, sitting by my bed. She was exhausted, eyes red and swollen, but she forced a smile, trying to hide her grief. Tiffany, the cheerful little sister who loved playing with Mia. Why was she here? "Tiffany, what happened? Where are Elise and Mia?" I asked weakly. She squeezed my hand. "Just calm down. Don't try to move. I'll call the doctor." A middle-aged doctor with a grave expression entered. He checked my eyes, my pulse. "You're fully conscious again. That's a very good sign." My heart was filled with dread. "Doctor, please. What's wrong with me? Why can't I feel my legs? It's like they've disappeared." He sighed. "You suffered a severe spinal cord injury. You're paralyzed from the waist down. The chances of walking again are virtually zero. We'll do everything we can, but it will be extremely difficult." Paralyzed. Me, a strong, healthy man, now crippled. His words struck me like lightning. I was stunned, my mind spinning. But then the images of Elise and Mia flooded back. Elise and Mia, where are they? Are they okay? I asked in a panic, my voice trembling. The doctor glanced at Tiffany, then avoided my eyes. Tiffany lowered her head. That silence weighed like lead. My heart raced. A terrible premonition. I gathered all my strength. "Somebody tell me. Where are they? Why won't anyone answer me?" I tried to push myself up, but my body betrayed me. My lifeless legs collapsed back onto the bed. The pain surged, but physical pain was nothing compared to the fear in my heart. It's all my fault. I wasn't careful enough. "Oh, God." Tears streamed down my face. Tiffany and Anais rushed to hold me down. "Please calm down, Winston. You'll hurt yourself more." I lay still, breathing heavily. Tiffany held my hand, her eyes brimming with tears. "Winston, you have to be strong, okay? I don't know how to say this gently, but Elise and Mia, your wife and your daughter, they didn't survive the accident. They died at the scene." Her words cut into my heart like a knife. "No, it couldn't be." "What? No, that's not true. They were just injured." I shook my head, but deep down, I knew it was real. The memory of blood spreading across the rainy road that night came rushing back. I broke down completely. I cried like a child. Utter despair swallowed me whole. My wife, my daughter, gone forever. And I, the survivor, was now nothing more than a broken shell. My life had ended that night. The next morning, I hadn't slept a wink. I lay staring at the hospital ceiling, at its tiny cracks that looked like spiderwebs. My mind spun endlessly with horrific images. The pungent antiseptic, the steady beep-beep-beep of the heart monitor. Everything was a cruel reminder that I was still alive. A reminder I didn't want at all. My spirit was shattered, like an old machine on the verge of total collapse. But at least I was calmer now. No more screaming, just a dull, constant pain that spread from my heart throughout my entire body. Tiffany stayed by my side the whole time, her face exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. Yet she still forced a smile as she pushed a food tray closer. "Eat some porridge, Winston. The nurse said you have to take your medicine on time," she whispered, afraid of startling me. I looked at her, feeling both gratitude and guilt. I nodded weakly, trying to swallow the bland porridge, but my throat felt blocked, like something was stuck there. "Tiffany, tell me what happened." "Everything. From the moment of the accident until I woke up. How long was I unconscious? How did you know to come here?" My voice was hoarse. I tried to sit up, but the pain made me wince. Tiffany paused, put the spoon down, and moved closer. She sighed, her eyes drifting toward the window, where early sunlight filtered through the curtains. You were in a coma for 2 days, Winston. The hospital found the emergency contact in Elise's medical records. They called me. I was the only emergency contact she had listed. Her voice trembled. Her hands clutched the edge of the bed sheet. I could picture it. Tiffany, alone in her dark apartment, receiving that fateful call. I was about to go to bed when the phone rang. They told me there'd been an accident, that Elise, Mia, and you were in critical condition. I rushed over immediately, driving through the rain, my heart pounding like it would burst. When I got here, I stood frozen in the hallway when the doctor told me. Elise and Mia had died at the scene. There was nothing they could do. I had to sign the papers, identify the bodies, handle all the formalities, all by myself. She lowered her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. I listened, my heart twisting in pain. Tiffany had endured everything while I lay unconscious. Thank you, Tiffany. Truly, I don't know what to say. You handled everything alone. Now, I'm asking you to organize the funeral for Elise and Mia. Please. Elise once said she wanted to be buried in the cemetery near our house, the one with the cherry trees. And Mia, she loved white flowers. My voice broke. I fought back tears. Tiffany nodded, wiping her eyes. I'll take care of it. Don't worry. Just focus on recovering. And please, stop blaming yourself. No one wanted this accident to happen. I said nothing, only looked down at my motionless legs under the white blanket. I could feel the cold numbness spreading through my body. They were no longer mine, just 2 lifeless logs. The thought of being disabled for life choked me, as if someone was strangling me. I was useless, a burden to everyone. God, how am I supposed to live now? Paralyzed from the waist down. I'm worthless, I whispered, my hands clenching the sheet until my knuckles turned white. Tiffany took my hand. Don't think like that. You will recover. As long as you're alive, there's still hope. You have to stay positive. But her words only made me feel more hopeless. The future ahead was nothing but pitch-black darkness, with no way out. I called my parents, Camden and Marilyn Cole. They lived in a luxurious villa not far from Austin, always busy with their real estate empire. Our relationship had never been close. They saw me as a failed project because I chose technology instead of joining the family business. But now, I needed them. My hand shook as I dialed. Hello, Dad. It's me, Winston. My father's voice came through, cold as always. Yes. What is it? I told him everything. The accident. The deaths of Elise and Mia. My paralysis. I need you and Mom to help Tiffany with the funeral. I can't do anything from this hospital bed. Silence. Then he muttered, All right. I'm in a meeting right now. I'll look into it later. He hung up. Not one question about my injuries. Not a single word of condolence for Elise and Mia. Not even a hint of comfort. I called my mother, hoping she would at least understand my loss, but she was even colder than my father. I'm very busy, too. Handle it yourself. She ended the call abruptly, as if my call was an annoying interruption. I stared at the dark phone screen, reflecting my pale face. Their indifference burned bitterly inside me. I wanted to scream. They were my parents. How could they be so heartless? But I no longer had the strength to argue or blame them. My last bit of energy was gone. Only the dull pain remained. That same afternoon, as golden sunlight streamed through the window, my phone rang again. This time it was from the company where I'd worked for 8 years. I'd been a project director, leading teams through major contracts, sacrificing countless sleepless nights. They must be calling to check on me, I thought, a tiny spark of hope flickering. My boss's voice was ice cold. Winston, we're calling to inform you that because of your prolonged absence, a critical project has been severely impacted. Management has decided to transfer your responsibilities to someone else. My heart sank. What? I was in an accident, unconscious for just 2 days. He cut me off. It's not just that. Your extended unnotified leave has caused significant damage. We have no choice but to terminate your employment to maintain organizational progress. His words hit me like a thunderbolt. Terminate me? How can you do this? I'm paralyzed. I lost my wife and daughter. Please, give me time. I tried to explain, my voice shaking, but he refused to listen further. The decision is final. Good luck. The call ended in a few short sentences, leaving only the long, empty beep. When the screen went dark, I felt a profound emptiness, like a black hole swallowing everything. Family gone. Career gone. My body no longer my own. The future ahead, nothing but an endless abyss. I lay there, staring out the window as the afternoon light faded, my heart dying little by little. Tiffany came back, saw my face, and asked anxiously, "What's wrong?" "They fired me. I've lost everything, Tiffany," I told her, tears streaming down. She hugged me and whispered, "You still have me. We'll get through this." But at that moment, I couldn't believe it. My life, once at its peak, had now fallen into the deepest pit. Everything collapsed too fast, too cruelly. I wondered, could anything be worse? Or was this only the beginning of hell? The following days passed in a haze of medication and pain. I lay motionless in the hospital bed, my body wrapped in bandages, my paralyzed legs a brutal reminder of everything I had lost. Elise and Mia's funeral took place without me. A husband and father who couldn't even stand to give them a final farewell. Tiffany had handled everything, just as she had promised. I could only picture the scene. A small white coffin for Mia, cherry blossoms for Elise, friends and colleagues bowing their heads in silence. But I wasn't there. I could only lie here, tears soaking the pillow, blaming myself for being the one who survived. 3 days after the accident, or rather, 3 days after my entire world collapsed, Tiffany returned to the hospital. When she pushed open the door, her face was pale. The dark circles under her eyes so deep it looked as though she hadn't slept properly since that fateful night. Yet, she still tried to stay composed, forcing a strange smile so as not to burden me further. "Have you eaten anything?" "I brought some fruit," she said, setting the bag on the table, her voice trying to sound cheerful. I looked at her, overwhelmed with gratitude mixed with guilt. Tiffany, with her hair tied high in her old coat, looked like a weary warrior after battle. At only 28, she should have been enjoying a free and carefree life, not running around taking care of a broken brother-in-law like me. "Thank you, Tiffany. You've handled everything. How was the funeral? Did it go smoothly?" I asked hoarsely, trying to sit up a little, but the pain in my back made me wince. She sat down beside the bed, gently smoothing the edge of the blanket. "Everything went fine. I chose the cemetery near the house. Some of your sister's friends came, and a few of your colleagues stopped by, too. They all send their regards." I nodded, but the real question was stuck in my throat. What about my parents? Did they come? I told them everything. I even asked them to help you. A faint hope flickered in my heart. No matter how cold they were, this was their daughter-in-law and granddaughter's funeral. Surely they would show up. Tiffany shook her head slightly, eyes fixed on the floor, avoiding mine. I didn't see them there. Not once. No one introduced themselves as relatives from the husband's side. I waited the whole time, thinking maybe they were delayed on the road. But no. Her words hit me like a punch in the chest. I froze, my ears ringing, unable to believe what I was hearing. That can't be. I called them. I told them everything. They knew. I whispered, my heart racing. Images of my parents flashed through my mind. Camden in his stern suits. Marilyn with her fake socialite smile. They always cared about appearances. How could they skip their own granddaughter's funeral? The pain surged, burning like fire. I couldn't stay still. With trembling hands, I grabbed the phone and dialed my mother. It rang for a long time before her cold voice answered. "What is it, Mom? About Elise and Mia's funeral? Why didn't you and Dad come?" I asked, my voice shaking as I fought back anger. Silence. Then she replied indifferently, "Yes, I know, but we were busy with meetings all day. There's no changing what's already happened, dear. I'm in a meeting right now. Bye." She hung up quickly, as if my call was nothing more than an annoying interruption. I stared at the darkened phone screen, my throat tight. Tears spilled over uncontrollably. How could they? How can they be so heartless? I whispered, my hands clenching until they hurt. Tiffany put her arms around my shoulders. Calm down, please. Don't think about it too much. You'll make yourself wise. But the suppressed pain choked me, as if I had been cast out by my own flesh and blood. They gave birth to me, raised me. Yet now, when I needed them most, they turned away. I felt like an orphan, lost and alone in the vast world. In the days that followed, the hospital became my own personal hell. Every morning, I woke up and stared at my lifeless legs, trying to wiggle a toe. Nothing. The doctors came, checked, injected, but their words were vague. It takes time. You have to be patient. Patient? How? When mental anguish tormented me every second, Tiffany stayed by my side like a tireless angel. She arrived early each morning, helping me eat, cutting food into small pieces, feeding me spoonful by spoonful when my hands shook too much. She checked my medications, reminding me to take them on time. In the afternoon, she stayed for checkups, wheeling me to x-rays or EMG tests. But I kept trying to push her away. I didn't want to be a burden. Go home, Tiffany. I can manage. You have your own job, your own life, I said weakly, looking out the window to avoid her eyes. She shook her head firmly and moved closer. Don't say that. If Elise were still here, she wouldn't want to see you alone like this. I'm her sister. I have to help. We're family. Her words touched my heart, reminding me of Elise, how my wife always cared for everyone, even her little sister. I remembered evenings when Elise used to talk about Tiffany. She's strong, but sometimes she's lonely. Look after her for me, okay? Now Tiffany was doing exactly what Elise would have done. I nodded, tears rolling down my cheeks. Thank you. I don't know how to ever repay you. In stark contrast to that warmth was the silence from my own parents. They never visited, never called, never even sent proper condolences. Every day I stayed at the phone, hoping it would ring. Nothing. Morning, noon, night. Only the beeping of machines and the footsteps of nurses. Their coldness cut like a knife, making me feel utterly abandoned, as if I were truly alone in facing both my grief and my broken body. At night, when the hospital grew quiet, I lay awake, wondering, what did I do wrong for them to hate me this much? Or have I always been a burden, even as a child? Tiffany noticed that pain. One late evening, as she lingered by my bed, she asked, "What are you thinking about?" I told her everything. About my parents, about my fears. She listened, then said gently, "They have their reasons, but you're not alone. I'm here." Her words were a faint ray of light. It was Tiffany's presence in my darkest days that kept me from falling apart completely. She didn't just care for my body. She healed my spirit, little by little, with every story, every smile. For the first time since the accident, I felt the world hadn't entirely turned its back on me. Yet deep inside, the pain still lurked, waiting for a moment of weakness. Life, why is it filled with such cruel surprises? The final days in the hospital dragged on under a vague, oppressive anxiety, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Every morning, the nurses checked vitals. The doctors stopped by with their practice smiles. But I knew the moment was coming. And then it came. One rainy afternoon, as drizzle pattered against the window, the doctor walked in, holding a clipboard. His voice was calm and measured. "Winston, your condition has stabilized. We've confirmed you're fit for discharge. You can go home tomorrow." The words exploded inside my head like a delayed bomb. Discharge? Home? To where? I looked down at my paralyzed legs, lying motionless under the white blanket, and a dread heavier than the constant ache in my spine crushed me. I knew I couldn't manage on my own. Eating, bathing, even moving from bed to door required help. The hospital was safe, surrounded by nurses and machines. Out there, the wide world would swallow a broken man like me whole. My heart pounded. Cold sweat broke out despite the cool room. Go home? But how am I supposed to live? I whispered to myself, panic rising. Tiffany came that afternoon as usual, carrying a bag of snacks. She read my face instantly. "What's wrong? What did the doctor say?" "I'm being discharged tomorrow," I said, voice trembling. "But I don't know what to do. With these legs, I can't take care of myself. She sat down and took my hand. Come stay with me. I have a spare room. I'll help you. Her offer was warm, sincere, but I shook my head. After many sleepless nights staring at the spiderweb cracks in the ceiling, I had no choice but to consider the last resort, asking my own parents. I didn't want to impose on Tiffany. She had already done far too much, and I was terrified of rumors of disrupting her life. That paralyzed man living with his young sister-in-law. People would talk, and I refused to let her suffer for it. No, Tiffany, I'll go to my parents' house. At least they are blood. They'll let me stay while I recover. I said it to convince myself as much as her. Tiffany looked worried. Are you sure? They never even visited you. I nodded, but my heart felt like lead. The next morning, discharge day, the hospital A felt suffocating. The nurse helped me dress and lowered me into a wheelchair. The sensation was strange and humiliating, like I was a helpless child again. Tiffany gathered my few belongings, some clothes, medication, and the old notebook Elise had once given me. She wheeled me down the corridor and said gently, "Here we go. Ready?" I nodded, but my heart was racing. The drive to my parents' house on the outskirts of Austin felt endless. Rain dotted the windshield, bringing back flashes of the accident night. I gripped the armrests, trying to push away memories of blood and twisted metal. Tiffany drove carefully, glancing over now and then. Tired? Close your eyes for a bit if you need to. I stayed out the window, nerves jangling. I told myself they would at least let me stay a few months while I tried to rehabilitate. They'll understand, I repeated silently, but deep down, fear whispered. Asterisk, what if they refuse? Asterisk, when we arrived, the villa appeared. A huge house with manicured gardens, a garage holding 2 luxury cars, and a polished stone entrance. I had grown up here, yet it had never felt like home. Only a cold residence filled with formal dinners and conversations about money. Tiffany parked and helped me into the wheelchair. My pulse thundered. Sweat soaked my shirt. We rang the bell. My father, Camden Cole, opened the door. Tall, impeccably suited, silver-streaked hair. His face, unchanged at the sight of his son in a wheelchair. No shock, no concern, just a curt nod. Come in. My mother, Marilyn, appeared from the living room, perfectly made up, but her eyes swept over me like I was a stranger. No hug, no questions. Why the sudden visit? She asked flatly. I swallowed hard. I was discharged today. I need to talk. We moved into the living room. Expensive leather furniture, art on the walls, yet as cold as an office. Tiffany wheeled me in and stood behind me, tense. I took a deep breath and laid everything bare. Mom, Dad, I've lost everything. Elise and Mia are gone. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. I lost my job. I can't work right now. I need a place to stay while I recover and try to rebuild my life. Just a few months. I'll do my best, too. I looked at them, searching for a flicker of compassion. There was none. My father folded his arms and shook his head. Having a disabled person living here would be extremely inconvenient, Winston. It would damage the family image, especially since we regularly host guests and business associates. What would they think if they saw you like this? The word disabled cut like a blade. That's how he referred to his own son. My mother added coldly, her voice shrill. Exactly. We can't turn the villa into a nursing facility. You should find somewhere more suitable, a retirement home or something, so you don't disrupt our lifestyle. Asterisk lifestyle. Asterisk something inside me snapped. How can you say that? I shouted, gripping the wheelchair arms until my knuckles hurt. I lost my wife and daughter. You didn't even come to their funeral. Didn't call once while I was in the hospital. But now you won't let me stay a few months. I'm your son. Tears streamed down my face. Tiffany's trembling hands rested on my shoulders, trying to calm me. My father just stayed, voice flat as a business report. You're an adult, Winston. The accident was unfortunate, but you have to take responsibility for your own life. Your mother and I can't take on any more problems. Asterisk problems. Asterisk I was a problem to them. Then my mother glanced sideways with contempt and delivered the venomous blow. If Tiffany has been taking care of you every day anyway, just go live with her. Who knows? Maybe you'll replace Elise with her little sister. After all, you're already used to women from that family. The words were a vicious slap. Replace Elise with Tiffany? How could she say something so vile while I was at my lowest? I froze in disbelief. Behind me, Tiffany went pale with shock and humiliation. Her grip on my shoulders tightened painfully. She whispered, "Don't listen to them, Winston." But I saw tears in her eyes. She couldn't believe adults could spew such cruelty. The living room felt like a courtroom pronouncing sentence on me. My heart pounded as I waited for them to take it back. They didn't. Realizing there was no hope left, I said nothing more. I simply turned the wheelchair toward the door in silence. The wheels squeaked across the marble floor, carrying me away as my own flesh and blood pushed me into the abyss for the third time. Tiffany wheeled me out, voice shaking. "Winston, are you okay?" I couldn't answer. Tears rolled down my cheeks. The rain outside had grown heavier, as if crying for me. We got into the car, and as we drove away from the villa, I looked back one last time. That house had never been a home, only a prison of painful memories. My heart was hollow, yet the pain was deeper than ever. Life, how cruel can it be? To be betrayed by your own blood. That was the fatal blow. I wondered if there was anything left to lose. Rain streaked down the car windows in long, jagged trails, like wounds that refused to heal. I sat motionless in the passenger seat, the folded wheelchair stashed in the trunk, my hands clenched so tightly the knuckles had gone white. Tiffany drove slowly, occasionally glancing over with worried eyes, but she said nothing. She probably knew that words right now would only make things worse. My mind spun with the images of what had just happened. My father's icy expression, my mother's venomous words slicing straight into my heart. Asterisk disabled, a burden, replace Elise with her little sister Star. Those phrases echoed relentlessly, choking me. What had I even hoped for? A hug? A word of comfort? They had never been like that. I'd grown up with their indifference, but this time it had shoved me straight to the bottom of the abyss. My heart raced faster as I thought about the future. No home, no money, a ruined body. Was there anywhere left for me to go? After a long, heavy silence, I finally spoke, my voice hoarse. "Tiffany, take me back to the old rental house, the one in the suburbs. I still have the keys." I tried to sound calm, even though I knew I wouldn't last long there. Next month's rent was already due in a few days, and my wallet was practically empty. Every penny Elise and I had saved over the years for our dream vacations, for Mia's future, had been swallowed by hospital bills, treatment costs, and the funeral expenses for Elise and Mia. The hospital invoices had been a monster, devouring everything. Medication, tests, even the cost of transporting the bodies. What was left? A few hundred in my account, enough to survive a week. But with paralyzed legs, how was I supposed to pay rent? The thought made my chest tighten, panic rising. If I got evicted, where would I go? Become a homeless man in a wheelchair? Tiffany shook her head immediately, her voice firm yet gentle. "No way. You can't go back there and live alone in your condition. That apartment is tiny. The stairs are steep. There's no elevator. It's completely unsuitable for someone paralyzed from the waist down. You'd be in danger. You could fall and have no one to help." She gripped the steering wheel tighter, eyes fixed on the road. I knew she was right. That little rental had once been our happy home. Elise cooking in the cramped kitchen, Mia running around, laughing. But now it was just a narrow box full of painful memories. I pictured myself there alone, crawling from bed to kitchen, hands shaking as I tried to hold a spoon. And if I fell, no one would hear me call for help. Cold sweat broke out at the thought. Yet I still tried to refuse. "It's okay, Tiffany. I don't want to mess up your life. You have work, friends. I'll manage somehow. I'll hire a caregiver or something." The words sounded weak even to me. Manage? With lifeless legs and a shattered heart. But Tiffany refused to let me stay there. Her voice trembled with emotion. "Don't say that. Elise would never want to see you alone, in danger like this. She always looked out for you and I. I'm her sister. I have to do this for her. Please come stay with me. Just temporarily. I have plenty of space. I'll take care of you. Her words struck the deepest part of my pain. I saw Elise smiling, stroking my hair. Asterisk, you're never alone. I'm here. Asterisk, Elise was gone. But Tiffany was trying to fill that void. My heart pounded, torn between gratitude and guilt. I wanted to refuse, to prove I was still strong. But my exhausted body and broken spirit wouldn't let me. Finally, with no other options and no strength left to argue, I nodded. Okay, thank you. I'll stay with you. Tiffany gave a small, relieved smile, though her eyes were red. The car turned toward her apartment, and I wondered, was this a new beginning or just another burden I was placing on her? By the way, if you're still with me, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. More unbelievable stories are coming, and you won't want to miss them. When we arrived, her apartment was in a quiet neighborhood with a small balcony overlooking a park. It wasn't big, but it was cozy. Neatly stacked books, plants on shelves, the faint scent of coffee in the air. She wheeled me inside and quickly set up a comfortable sleeping area in the living room. Fresh sheets, soft pillows, curtains drawn against the light. Rest now. I've got everything ready. Medicine here, warm water here, and I'll make you some porridge, she said, busy but gentle. I lay down, my body drained after the ordeal. From the hospital to the confrontation with my parents, rain still tapped against the window, a sad lullaby. Watching Tiffany bustle around, gratitude flooded me, mixed with guilt. She should have been living her own peaceful life, working, seeing friends, dating, not caring for a broken brother-in-law like me. In the days that followed, a routine slowly formed at Tiffany's place. But for me, it was filled with struggle and anxiety. She woke before sunrise every morning to prepare food and medicine before heading to work. I'd hear her in the kitchen, the clink of a spoon stirring porridge, the blender whirring. Then she'd bring a tray to my bedside. Eat up. I made banana smoothie today. Good for you. In the evenings, after a long day at work, she'd come home and continue caring for me, helping me bathe, change clothes, assisting with every small daily task. Just call me if you need anything, she'd say, tired but cheerful. I saw how exhausting it was for her, and the gratitude and self-reproach tore at me. Every time I caught her dozing off on the sofa after staying up late massaging my legs, my heart ached. Grandpa used to say, "Don't ever let anyone sacrifice for you." Now Tiffany was sacrificing, and I was powerless to stop it. In those first days at Tiffany's, I struggled with my half-paralyzed body like a prisoner trapped inside my own skin. Even turning over or sitting up made me break into a sweat. My spine throbbed as if pierced by needles. I tried to do things myself, reaching for a glass of water only for my trembling hand to spill it everywhere. I muttered curses, despair flooding me. I started the exercises the doctor had prescribed, sitting upright, shifting on the bed, balancing with my arms. But I fell often, staring helplessly at a body that refused to obey. Once, trying to sit up too fast, I crashed to the floor, pain shooting through me. Heart pounding, I lay there gasping, wondering if it was even worth trying. Tiffany rushed in, terrified. What happened? Don't practice alone. Every evening, she patiently helped with therapy, supporting me on the walking frame, massaging my limbs with warm oil, encouraging me step by step. One more try. I've got you, she'd say, gripping my hands tightly. Those sessions were agonizing, my legs stiff and numb, muscles twitching, but she never gave up. I thought of Mia, how she used to laugh when I taught her to ride a bike. Hold the bike for me, Daddy. Now I was the child who needed someone to hold me. The guilt kept me awake at night, anxiously waiting for any sign of improvement. Then one morning, as I tried moving like always, I suddenly felt a faint tingle run down to my foot, like a weak electric current. My big toe twitched, just a little, but enough to stun me. Tiffany, look. Oh God, I can't believe it. I shouted, voice shaking with emotion. She ran in, eyes wide. What is it? I tried again. The toe moved more clearly. We both froze, then burst into overwhelmed joy. She hugged me, tears streaming down. You did it. I smiled, the first real smile in months, warmth spreading through my chest. But after that brief moment of joy, reality crashed back. I knew the road to recovery was still incredibly long. Months, maybe years, filled with pain and setbacks. And I was still trapped. No job, no money, completely dependent on Tiffany. The future remained a dark void. My heart raced whenever I thought, what if she gets tired of this? What if I never improve? Those days, I trained twice as hard, but the fear never left. Tiffany kept encouraging me. Just one small step. We'll make it. I nodded, but deep down, the anxiety never faded. Life is full of surprises. From the depths of despair, a tiny spark of hope had flickered. But would it be enough to pull me out? The following weeks passed in a familiar yet exhausting rhythm. Every morning I woke up and looked through the thin curtains of Tiffany's apartment, where sunlight filtered in, and wondered what the day would bring. A small step forward or another disappointment. Tiffany remained tireless, up early to prepare breakfast, helping me exercise before heading to work. I tried to do more on my own, pushing myself up with my arms to sit, shifting on the bed without her support. But every fall, every stab of pain in my back, reminded me of my helplessness. One afternoon, golden sunlight pouring through the window, Tiffany decided to sort through the dusty suitcases we had brought from my old house. They were filled with memories. Elise's clothes, Mia's toys, a few of my personal belongings. She sat on the living room floor, opening each bag, her voice soft. I'll tidy these up, okay? What should we keep? What should we let go? I sat in the wheelchair beside her, watching her sort. My heart heavy. Every item brought back a flood of memories. Elise's favorite blouse, the doll Mia used to sleep with. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile. Yeah, go ahead. Then, as she opened an old notebook I used for work ideas, a card slipped out and glinted in the sunlight. Tiffany picked it up. What's this? An old card. Should I keep it or toss it? She asked, handing it to me. I froze the moment my eyes met the familiar silver card. My hands trembled with emotion. It was the card my grandfather, Winston Cole, the man I was named after, had given me years ago before he passed. The only keepsake I had always carried from childhood to adulthood, tucked inside that notebook like a silent reminder. The surface was dull with time, but the words Legacy Access Card were still clear, along with a faint bank logo. My heart beat faster, as if the past were rushing back through every groove on the card. No, keep it. It's something from Grandpa, I whispered, my voice catching. Tiffany nodded and placed it in my hand. Okay, I'll leave it here. Rest now. I'll make dinner. She stood and went to the kitchen, leaving me alone in the quiet room. In that silence, I sat motionless for a long time, holding the worn silver card, feeling past and present squeeze my heart. A deep, wordless emptiness rose inside me, and my eyes blurred as childhood memories flooded back like a tide. Grandpa Winston Cole was the only person who had ever truly protected and loved me when I was little. He lived simply in an old wooden house on the outskirts of Texas, with a small garden of flowers and vegetables. While my parents were always consumed by work, endless meetings, long business trips, leaving me with nannies and cold dinners, Grandpa was my only anchor. He'd take me to the nearby park, push me high on the swing, laughing, "Higher, Winston, don't be afraid to fall." He taught me what it meant to live with principles, honesty, and small things like patience when life tested you, and staying kind even when the world turned its back. Those weren't just words. He lived them, and his calm, generous spirit became my compass through the darkest days. He taught me to read adventure stories about oceans and jungles, sitting by the fireplace, his warm voice reading late into the night. He taught me to ride a bike, running behind me, shouting, "Keep your balance, grandson, I've got you." And most importantly, he listened to every childhood sorrow. My parents never noticed the times I was bullied, the lonely nights when they were away. Sometimes life turns its back, but you have to live honestly, kindly, and patiently, he'd say, patting my shoulder. The day he died 8 years ago from a sudden heart attack, I felt as if I'd lost half my world. My anchor, the only person who loved me unconditionally, asking nothing but my smile in return. His funeral was simple, just a few relatives. My parents were too busy with meetings to stay until the end. I wept at his grave and promised to live the way he taught me. Now, looking at the time-worn card, buried memories rushed back, bringing a pain and longing that choked me. Hot tears rolled down my cheeks. "Grandpa, I miss you so much," I whispered, clutching the card. I remembered his final words in the hospital, weak but firm. "If life ever pushes you to the very bottom, take this card to the bank. They'll help you stand again." Back then, I thought it was just a small savings account. A few thousand, nothing more. I had smiled sadly and said, "Thanks, Grandpa, but I'm fine." Now, paralyzed, having lost everything, it was the only comfort I had left. My heart raced with a mix of hope and curiosity. What was really in there? A little money to survive, or just a memory? The next morning, after a sleepless night filled with memories of Grandpa, I decided to find out. While Tiffany prepared breakfast, I called out, "Tiffany, can you take me to the main branch of First National Trust? I need to check this card." She looked surprised. "That old card? Sure, we'll go after breakfast." My heart pounded the entire drive through the familiar streets of Austin, everything blurred by anxiety. First National Trust stood downtown, a tall building with gleaming glass. Tiffany wheeled me to the counter. I handed the card to a young employee with a professional smile. But the moment she saw the front of the card, her expression changed. Eyes widened. Hands trembled slightly. "Please, wait just a moment," she whispered, immediately ushering us into a private room and calling a senior manager. The atmosphere turned formal, almost secretive. Staff whispered. The door closed firmly. Both Tiffany and I were bewildered. What is this card? "Why the private room?" she asked quietly, squeezing my hand. I shook my head. "I only know it's from Grandpa." My pulse thundered. Cold sweat broke out. Then the manager entered, a middle-aged man in a sharp suit, momentarily stunned to see the legacy access card in the hands of an ordinary man in a wheelchair. "Mr. Cole, good day. We need to verify your identity." His tone was grave. They checked everything. ID, fingerprint scan, a security PIN Grandpa had made me memorize years ago. Everything matched. "You are the sole legal owner of the account," the manager confirmed, his voice slightly trembling. Then he explained slowly, as if revealing a long-held secret. "This is not an ordinary debit card. It is a legacy trust access pass, the key to a high-value inheritance trust managed under absolute confidentiality. Your grandfather established it many years ago, naming you as the sole beneficiary." My heart felt like it would burst. He listed the assets, $1.2 billion US in total, including over $120 million in cash. A blue-chip stock portfolio worth nearly $480 million, a 25% stake in his real estate company valued at approximately $320 million, more than $160 million in bonds, a commercial complex in Phoenix worth over $150 million, and 2 safe deposit boxes containing documents, precious metals, and a USB drive left by Grandpa. I sat speechless, mouth open, unable to believe my ears. $1.2 billion. My grandfather, the man who lived simply, wore old clothes, ate plain oatmeal, vegetable soup, or baked potatoes every day, had left a fortune this enormous. How? How is this possible? I whispered, tears welling up, my heart racing. The manager smiled. Your grandfather was a very private, highly successful investor in real estate and securities. He wanted everything kept secret until it was needed. On the way out of the bank, I sat silently in the wheelchair, clutching the USB and the card, overwhelmed and moved. Tiffany drove, voice trembling. You're rich. My God, Grandpa left you an incredible fortune. But I didn't smile. I just cried quietly. Grandpa had saved me from the grave, from the abyss. A new door was opening after every tragedy that had pushed me to the bottom. My heart beat fast with a flicker of hope, recovery, a fresh start. living kindly as he taught me. Yet deep down I knew the journey was only beginning. With that wealth came great responsibility. Life is so full of surprises. From poverty, I had become a billionaire overnight. But Grandpa's memory was the true treasure. I thought of him more than ever. Those afternoons when he talked about investing. It's not about money, it's about patience, grandson. Now I understood. Back home, I carefully put the card away. My heart warmed. And Tiffany asked, "What will you do with all that money?" I whispered, "Live? Well, the way he taught me." That night, holding the USB, my heart pounded. Asterisk, what's on it? Asterisk, a message? Hope mixed with anxiety. Life is dramatic, and I was right in the middle of it. Back at Tiffany's apartment, I couldn't wait any longer. With trembling hands, I plugged the USB the bank had given me into my old laptop, the only thing I still had from the previous house. The screen flickered. Then a slightly grainy video began to play, clearly recorded many years ago. There he was, the weathered yet gentle face of my grandfather, Winston Cole, sitting in his familiar wooden rocking chair inside the old log cabin. Behind him were the same dusty bookshelves, the cold, empty fireplace. His kind smile looked straight at me through the screen, as if he were still alive. My heart clenched. Tears instantly welled up. He looked frail, his hair snow-white, but his eyes still sparkled the way they always had. He spoke, his voice warm and raspy with age. "Hello, my boy, Winston. If you're watching this, it means I'm gone, and that you need me right now." I sat motionless in the wheelchair, drinking in every word, as if he was sitting right beside me. He said that in his entire life, what made him proudest was not the wealth or the successful deals, the real estate and stock investments he had kept completely secret, but my character. "You are kind, responsible, loving, and honest, even when you've been hurt," he said, his voice trembling. "I saw it when you were little, when you gave your toys to friends, when you comforted me after your grandmother died. You're not like your parents. They chase money and forget what it means to be human." His words cut deep, bringing back memories of those cold dinners at my parents' house where the only topics were contracts and profits, while Grandpa was the only one who ever asked, "Were you happy today?" In the video, he explained that he had left everything to me, not because I was the eldest grandson, but because I was the only person he trusted to use it properly. Not for revenge, not for corruption, but to keep living with the kindness he had taught me. Don't use money to get even. Vengeance only breeds more hatred. Use it to build, to lift others up, and to live a life that truly matters. My heart pounded as he continued. If you're watching this, it means life has pushed you into the deepest pit. I know, because I've been there. I lost your grandmother. I lost friends. But I stood back up. This card is the last rope I can throw to pull you out. He gave a sad smile, eyes glistening. I hope you find yourself again. Live a worthy life, and never feel alone, because my love will always be with you. The video ended with him waving goodbye. The screen faded to black. I sat frozen, tears streaming onto the keyboard. I didn't know whether to cry from gratitude. He had saved me from the grave, from grief, he was truly gone, or from the unconditional love he had given me, the kind my parents had never shown. "Thank you, Grandpa," I whispered, stroking the screen as if I could touch him. For the first time since the accident, after months of living in despair, I actually saw a future. Not an endless black void, but a path, rough and steep, yet with light at the end. Tiffany walked in from the kitchen and saw me crying. Alarmed, she asked, "What's wrong? What was on the video?" I told her everything, voice breaking. She sat beside me and hugged me tight. "Your grandfather was an extraordinary man. Now you have everything you need to start over." And she was right. The very next week, I used a tiny fraction of the inheritance, still stunned by its size, to hire the best physical therapy team in Texas. Not ordinary doctors, but top specialists from a renowned rehabilitation center with decades of experience. I invested in state-of-the-art recovery equipment, electrical muscle stimulators, multifunction walking frames, even a small therapeutic pool. Most importantly, I bought a new house, spacious, safe, on the outskirts of Austin, with no stairs, a private gym, and a lush garden for peace and quiet. Not a lavish mansion, but a warm, accessible home where I wouldn't be confined to a wheelchair forever. Tiffany and I moved in together, not because I was still dependent, though at first I did need her help, but because we both wanted to walk this difficult road side by side. Tiffany, how would you feel about living together for a while? Not so you have to take care of me, but so I don't have to face this part alone, I asked, my heart racing. She nodded, eyes shining. I understand, and I don't mind at all. If you need someone by your side, I'm here. After all, we're still family. Moving was a challenge. Boxes piled high, laughter mixed with tears when we found old photos of Elise and Mia. But the new house brought hope. Wide bedrooms, a modern kitchen, a bright gym filled with gleaming equipment. Therapy began immediately, and it was still hell. Every morning, the team arrived. Muscle massage specialists, physical trainers with personalized programs. I fell over and over while trying to stand, losing balance on the walker, legs jerking like I was being electrocuted, body drained after every session. The pain went straight to the bone. I was soaked in sweat and wanted to give up 100 times. I can't do this, I'd shout, lying on the floor, gasping. But every single time Tiffany was there to help me up, encouraging me step by step. Try again. I'm right here, she'd say, gripping my hands, her eyes full of determination. She didn't just help physically, massaging my legs at night, preparing nutritious meals. She lifted my spirit, telling funny stories, playing the music Grandpa loved, reminding me of his words. Asterisk live kindly and patiently star. 3 months in, I could sit steadily without shaking and move around the house on the walker by myself. Winston, you're amazing. You did it. Tiffany cheered, hugging me tight. 6 months later, I practiced standing, shifting weight onto my legs. Every second felt like needles, then taking tiny steps, pain shooting through my bones. But I gritted my teeth. Tiffany cried with joy. The first time I took real steps. After 1 full year of relentless effort, 1 year of sweat, tears, and sleepless nights filled with worry, I could finally walk with crutches. It was still hard, each step heavy, as if I carried weights, but steady. The first time I crossed a room without the wheelchair, my heart pounded with emotion. Tiffany stood there, eyes shining with pride and relief. You're walking. Oh my God. We hugged, laughing and crying at once. It was a rebirth. From a broken man, I had become someone who could stand again, even if still limping. While I focused on recovery and rebuilding my life, planning finances, making small investments the way Grandpa taught me, I occasionally heard snippets about my parents. They had run into debt from reckless investments and overspending. The luxury villa, new cars, but now partners were pulling out, banks were foreclosing. I said nothing, didn't call, didn't help. I only felt a clear, quiet distance, as if their life and mine had long been on separate paths and no longer concerned each other. My heart no longer raced with anger when I thought of them, just a faint, fading sadness, like looking at an old photograph. They reap what they sow, I thought, then went back to my training. My life now belonged to me, with Tiffany by my side, Grandpa watching from above, and a future brighter than ever. Yet deep down I knew the challenges weren't over. The drama still lurked, and I had to stay ready. Once my health had stabilized further, when I could walk with crutches without Tiffany constantly supporting me, even though every step still felt like needles, I decided I could no longer just sit still. Lying in the living room of our new house, gazing out at the lush garden, bathed in late afternoon sunlight, I thought all night. The fortune Grandpa left me wasn't meant for me to lie around and enjoy. He had taught me to live kindly, responsibly, and to build something worthwhile. With years of experience as a project director and tech lead, guiding teams through major contracts, solving complex problems, I knew I could do it again. Start a new company, Tiffany suggested one evening as we sat with cups of hot coffee. You know you're good at this. Elise always said so. Don't waste your talent. My heart raced with excitement and fear. Fear of failure. Fear my body wouldn't keep up. But I nodded. The following week, I used a tiny fraction of the inheritance, just a few $1,000,000, enough to get started, to found a technology company specializing in project consulting and software development. The name, Legacy Tech, in memory of Grandpa and my promise to live well. The early days were brutal, like walking into an endless battle. I ran the company from a small, inexpensive office in downtown Austin, wooden desks, a handful of computers, while continuing daily physical therapy and learning to live again with a body that had once been paralyzed. Before sunrise, I practiced walking around the house, legs trembling, shirt soaked in sweat after only a few meters. Then I drove to the office, crutches in one hand, heart pounding in case I fell. There, I met with the tiny initial team, just 3 young engineers I hired online who believed in my story. We start small, then we grow strong, I told them, trying to keep my voice steady. Reality was harsh. The first project was a simple app for a local client, but they were skeptical. You were paralyzed from the waist down. Can you really guarantee deadlines? Their words cut deep and made me doubt myself. At night, exhausted from therapy, leg massages, electrical stimulation, I lay awake wondering, can I really do this? Or will I fail again? At first, the company had only a few employees and small, scattered projects, optimizing systems for local stores, building basic websites. Clients still doubted the abilities of a man who had been disabled. I saw their eyes flick to my crutches during meetings. My heart raced with anxiety, afraid they would walk away. But through relentless persistence, staying up late, planning, making cold calls despite dozens of rejections, and clear strategies drawn from past experience, each project was completed flawlessly. The first app ran perfectly. The client was thrilled and referred others. Trust grew, leading to bigger contracts, software development for startups, project consulting for mid-sized firms. Revenue rose. The team grew to 10. My heart pounded with joy every time I signed a new contract. I did it. Within months, the media took notice. The first local article appeared, From Paralyzed to Powerhouse, the inspiring story of Winston Cole. They told of the accident, the loss, the unexpected inheritance, and how I rose to start a company. Then it spread. TV interviews, viral social media posts. They call me a symbol of resilience. The man reborn from despair. Articles exploded online. #Winston Cole story trended for days. I read the comments. He inspires me. From rock bottom to the top. My heart swelled with emotion, not from fame, but from knowing my story was helping others struggling with loss. Then the drama began. As soon as my parents, Camden and Marilyn, saw the news, they reached out. The phone rang in the middle of the night. "Son, we've seen the reports. It's time you fulfilled your duty as a son and invested a substantial amount in our company to help the family through these difficulties." My father's voice was cold, like a debt collector. I froze, anger surging. Difficulties? You once called me a burden, I thought, but answered calmly and firmly. "I'm sorry, but I can't. I have my own plans." They hung up furiously. In the following days, they kept calling and texting, harassing me. "You're selfish. We raised you, and now you abandon us in our hour of need." I ignored every call, turned off the phone when the screen kept lighting up, heart pounding with tension, and focused on the company. When they refused to give up, they showed up at my office, causing a scene one beautiful sunny morning while I was in a team meeting. An employee rushed in. "There's an older man and woman at the door demanding to see you." I went out and found my parents standing there, faces red with rage, filming on their phones. "Our own son is rich but abandons his parents. We're going bankrupt because of debts, and he refuses to help." My mother shouted, drawing a crowd. My heart raced. Cold sweat broke out. What if clients saw? What would the staff whisper? The incident caused a few ripples. Some partners called to ask questions. Social media buzzed, but I stayed silent, refusing to respond. "Don't react," Tiffany advised, hugging me. "They'll expose themselves." And that's exactly what happened. When journalists dug deeper, the truth came out. How they had abandoned their paralyzed son, skipped the funeral of their daughter-in-law and granddaughter, and thrown me out of their home. The first headline read, "Behind the Abandoned Parents, the story of a son discarded while paralyzed." Public outrage erupted. Comments poured in, "They should be ashamed. Winston is the victim." Their reputation collapsed overnight. Their family company lost all credibility. Partners severed ties to avoid association. Clients walked away, not wanting to be linked to a family condemned by public opinion. Everything slid downhill. Business loans frozen, projects stalled, financial trust withdrawn. Struggling, the company teetered on the verge of collapse due to family scandal. I read them without pain, only a faint, distant sadness. One gloomy afternoon, the sky gray as if about to rain, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Camden and Marilyn standing there, faces gaunt and weary, clothes rumpled instead of designer suits. "Son, let us in. We need to talk," my father said weakly. They begged me once more to invest and save the company and asked to move in temporarily because their house was being foreclosed. My heart raced, not with anger, but with the weight of facing the past. I stood at the threshold, looking at the two people who had given me life, now broken and remorseful. Yet I felt no hatred, only a quiet, faded sorrow, like looking at strangers. "Do you remember the day I was paralyzed and had lost everything? I begged to stay with you, and you threw me out, called me a burden, told me to go live with Tiffany," I said calmly. They lowered their heads. "We were wrong. We treated you terribly. Please forgive us." I shook my head. "Everyone reaps what they sow. I'm sorry, but I can't help you." Then I gently asked them to leave and close the door, shutting a painful chapter that had lasted far too many years. For the first time, the past no longer clung to me. It had ended exactly where it needed to end. I walked back inside. Tiffany was waiting and hugged me. "Are you okay?" I nodded. A weight lifted from my heart. "I'm okay now. Only the future remains." That night, lying beside her, I still lay awake for a little while, nervous, because life is always full of surprises. But now I was ready to face what came next. 2 years after the tragedy. 2 years since that fateful rainy night that took Elise and Mia, leaving me with a shattered body and a bleeding heart. I had almost completely recovered. The legs that once lay paralyzed like lifeless logs now walked steadily across the polished wooden floors of our home. No more crutches, no more wheelchair, only firm, confident steps, even if they still carried a slight limp. After long work days, my body had grown strong again through relentless therapy and training. Morning runs around the garden, afternoon gym sessions with a trainer, evening stretches by the fireplace. My company, Legacy Tech, had become one of the fastest growing tech firms in Texas, hailed by the media as a symbol of rebirth. From those first small projects, we now handled major international contracts, developing AI-driven management systems, providing strategic tech consulting for startups. The staff had grown to over 100, and our headquarters featured sleek glass walls and creative open spaces. Where I once attended meetings with crutches beside me, I now stood tall to present ideas without a tremor. The press interviewed me constantly. "How did you rise from rock bottom?" I always answered simply, "Because of the people who truly loved me, and because I refused to give up." My heart still races when I read the articles, not because of fame, but because I see my story inspiring others struggling with loss, just as I once did. Throughout this time, the love between Tiffany and me grew quietly, from peace and understanding into something deep and genuine. It wasn't the explosive, youthful passion I had shared with Elise, those rushed kisses, those breathless promises, but a gentle, steady current, like a calm river after a storm. We had walked through hell together. The nights I cried for Mia when she sat silently listening, the therapy sessions when I wanted to quit, when she held my hand and urged me on. Love blossomed naturally from the smallest gestures, her leaving coffee ready in the morning, my bringing flowers home after work. We were never in a hurry. Both of us had lost too much. I had lost my wife and daughter. She had lost her sister and niece. My heart would race whenever I wondered, is this love or just gratitude? But slowly, I understood. This was love, real and healthy, built on profound understanding. We married in a small, intimate ceremony. Nothing extravagant, just close friends and a few colleagues from the company. It was a cool summer afternoon in our backyard. Simple wooden tables, flowers we had planted ourselves, and laughter ringing through the air. I wore a white suit. Tiffany was radiant in a pure white dress, her hair flowing freely. No grand reception, just vows exchanged before the minister. I promised to love you, to cherish you, just as you have done for me. She cried. I cried. That was the most peaceful day I had known in years, as if life had finally given me back a true home. Not a mansion, but a place filled with honest love. The reception afterward was simple, homemade cake and expensive wine and joyful stories about our journey. My heart raced with pure, nervous happiness. I really have a home again. One clear morning, with mist still clinging to the cemetery, I visited the graves of Elise and Mia, carrying a bouquet of white flowers, the kind Mia used to pick in the garden. Tiffany came with me, but stayed back a little, giving me space for my memories. I walked slowly to the two quiet headstones, laid the flowers down, and sat on the damp grass, gazing at the engraved names. Elise Cole, Mia Cole. Once my entire world. There was no longer searing pain, no uncontrollable tears, only gratitude that they had passed through my life, bringing joy and lessons. Elise, Mia, I've stood up again, I whispered sincerely. I'm living again. I found peace. You'd want that from me, wouldn't you? I will love you both. Forever. A breeze passed through, as if an answer, and my heart felt strangely at peace. As I turned away from the cemetery, leaving the graves behind, I looked at the blue sky ahead, white clouds drifting, birds soaring, and I knew with absolute clarity that the past had truly closed. No more haunting, no more guilt, only lessons. Reflecting on everything I had endured, from that deadly rainy night to the lonely hospital days, from family betrayal to the unexpected inheritance, from agonizing recovery to new love, I found a message for myself and for anyone who has suffered as I did. No matter how far life pushes you down, never let go. No one can save you but yourself. Stand up again for those who truly love you and because your life deserved to be lived a second time. Those words echoed in my mind, like Grandpa whispering from above. With a healed heart, I returned to Tiffany, the woman who had held my hand through the darkness, from the hospital to the nights of despair. She waited by the car, smiling softly. Are you okay? I pulled her into my arms. I'm okay now. Let's go home. We drove back hand in hand, ready to keep building our future, a future filled with warmth and hope. Perhaps we'll have children. Perhaps new challenges will come. But now my heart beats steadily with happiness. Life, how wondrous it is. From tragedy to joy, from loss to finding. Again, I am ready for whatever surprises lie ahead. In that peace, I silently thanked Grandpa. Thank you for everything. So, tell me, after hearing my story, what's one thing you've had to fight unbelievably hard for in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below.